Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here is the host of The Pleasure Zone, sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, and holistic health practitioner, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome, my sweet pleasure seekers. So first, random thought of the day. For those of you who are watching this via video, some of you might just be listening via audio, but I have to say I got like this new curl cream and I'm digging it. And I'm looking at my curls on video and I'm like, digging my curls right now. Literally did nothing to them, not even a blow dryer. OMG, loving my curls. Anyways, so just getting a little present with myself right now. This show is all about erotic presence and what's it going to do for us. So the art of erotic presence. Sometimes I just like throw like words together and a sentence comes out, and then I'm like, and this is what I'll be talking about. And so this is what I'll be talking about, kids. And for those of you who are on tonight, you are probably avid listeners, I'm guessing, or maybe like you came across this title randomly and went, I've been looking for the art of erotic presence. Um, Perhaps you've been specifically looking for this, and you and I both tuned into the universe and pulled and plucked those words out and formed them into a sentence. Um, Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but I'm so happy that you're here being present with me. And the first little thing I'd like you to know about is that if you are first listening to this show for the very, very first time, there are over 500, I don't even know, 11 years worth of episodes. I've been at this since 2014. Blows my mind. And I honestly, when I started this show, I remember talking to a woman who's now like my best friend, who at the time was like producer, convincing me to like maybe start a show and see what I could do. And I was like, maybe I can do like 8 episodes and might have like 8 episodes under my belt. But here we go with 11 years of episodes. If you're one of those people who have thought, I need, maybe I have things to say. Maybe I have 8 episodes under my belt that I want to share as a podcast. There are lots of options on Inspired Choices Network. You don't have to be on for 11 years, but if you want to like test your ways out and get like an amazing production team and fantastic, fantastic distribution team going, then I fully encourage you to hop over to Inspired Choices Network and book a call to see if this is the network for you to assist you. Anyways, shameless plug there. But I've been at this for so long and so grateful for the platform. More and more so, just the ability to have the freedom of speech to say what I like. I mean, sometimes I will say different words just so that it can go out on all platforms and not get stopped. But the fact that I've been able to say what I want for 11 years to you guys is kind of amazing. And to be talking about pleasure and sex too totally amazes me. So I am a sex and intimacy coach and holistic health practitioner. One of the things I love to do is bring people out of trauma and into more pleasure. And trauma can be like emotional, physical, spiritual. There's so many different traumas, religious traumas. Bring them out of trauma and into pleasure. So it doesn't always mean erotic sexual pleasure, but pleasure too in your life is where you're enjoying your life. Today's conversation is going to be about erotic presence and erotic pleasure because it is the pleasure zone. And I do thoroughly enjoy talking about pleasure, but I also do thoroughly enjoy talking about how to get out of trauma and the fact that chances are you've had some kind of trauma in your life, whether it's been ongoing or whether it's like one incident. You've had trauma and maybe you've not let that go. So what we're going to do today is talk about presence. What is it? What's the difference between like presence and I don't know, like when somebody tries to like show off and be like a look at me, I'm so good at this performer, right? Like somebody who's like the difference between presence and performance. I think that's a really good place that we're going to start. And I don't know if you've noticed in the last probably at 8 episodes, if you listen to these shows chronologically, the last 8 episodes have been a lot of things about before play, foreplay, core play, after play, all these different plays. And then we had a little bit of a break for a hot minute where we talked about cortisol and pleasure. And then we also talked about successful relationships for an episode. But now we're back on the before play, foreplay kind of role, bringing in things like last week's episode on playfulness as medicine and this week's presence um, as an erotic art. So, the art of erotic presence for me is how we can be present with each other. And I get this word is going to get so annoying by the end. And if you guys want to put like a ticker timer on how many times I say the word present or presence in this, go right ahead. It'll probably be like 925 by the end. Um, and whatever that happens. Those it always cracks me up when I watch other YouTubers or videos people have created where they have like the little calculator of how many times have they said this particular word. Well, the show is about presence and erotic presence, so we're going to be saying the word a lot. And why presence is the, to me, ultimate aphrodisiac. So I'm going to give you like a little hint as to why lack of presence is not an aphrodisiac. If you have somebody who is trying to have sex with you, say, they have not even looked you in the face, they haven't even said hello to you, they only touch you where they want to touch you, and then they start doing things to your body without even checking in with you to see whether that's turning you on or not. Um, does that turn you on? Does that feel erotic or does it feel performative? Performative, as in, like, is somebody doing this as a performance just to try and do, like, I don't know, maybe the Playboy might have said, step one. I say this because I dated somebody who had read Playboy magazines. I think it was Playboy or Hustler or something, and learned that there was like a method. And I could hear him not like out loud counting, but I could hear his brain counting when we would have sex because he had read that there was a method. And I was like, let's not do the method. Like after a few times, I was like, what is this? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like it was like a I don't know how to describe it. It was like a what is like a light, like a sort of entry, like as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 was the full entry. And I was like, okay, the guy was learning. I got to give him credit that he was looking and learning, but there was no asking me like what my rhythm was, what I was interested in, what would like pleasure me, what would also pleasure him, what would help with slowing down and getting present. I mean, we were young too, so we weren't necessarily thinking of that, but somewhere deep in me, I knew that something wasn't like as the best as it could be. And I think most people when they're young, I don't know, maybe they don't, but most people know like it does get bigger and more interesting than this, right? Maybe I just have those thoughts. So so there are these things where people have like methods to try and like please each other, but that becomes so incredibly performative. And it's just like there's nothing about it that is connected. There's nothing about it that says, oh, I'm really interested in who you are as a person and what turns you on. What I'm interested in is seeing if I can achieve this method and will this method create the results that, Playboy or Hustler said it would. Well, the chances are like maybe 1 in 100 people will respond to that method, but a lot of people are not going to respond to that method because you're not connecting to them. So connection is pretty key. And how do you get connected is through presence. So why is presence erotic? Okay, so we know what's not such a turn on, like somebody's just like, "Meh, meh, meh, do what I want, not really ask you, not really connect with you, be performative, just try and get you off, and then wham bam, thank you, ma'am, it's done." And at some point you're just like, "All right, that thanks for letting me be basically like a human blow up doll. Thanks so much." So not experiencing that can be a blessing. So if we choose to go into erotic presence, now let's switch that up. Your partner becomes interested in you. They actually like to look at you. They might not just like to look at you and check out your body and go, oh, like nice boobs, nice ass, nice, like whatever. They might look at you deeply in the eyes and enjoy being with you. So let's start with that. How does it feel when somebody does look you in the eyes and you actually really like them and you're comfortable with them, you trust them? I have to say it looking people in the eyes is a huge practice for me. Even when I do my show, sometimes when I think I like look all over the place. And so for today, in this particular episode, I'm trying diligently to like be present with me, staring at myself the whole time. If you're watching on video, you might notice that. So having erotic presence means that you're there with that person. You're breathing. Sometimes you're breathing in tandem with that person. And you might even find that some of the sexiest things that you do is hold each other. You could be sitting up where you're kind of like one person sits on top of the other and you have your hearts connect. You could be standing. You could be lying one on top of the other. You could have somebody lying on their tummy and somebody on top where you can feel each other's breath. And then if you do intentional breathing together, even if you just do really simple intentional breathing of in for 5 and out for 5, just to become familiar with how it feels to have when you're breathing in, having like your abdomen, your chest, and then opening up even into your clavicles and shoulders, and everything starts to expand with your breath and then having your partner's body pressed against that. So having that bit of weight can be actually quite exhilarating to be breathing with somebody in tandem. And sometimes it can be so sexy that you'll get turned on to the point where you might even feel like you're peaking. It can get that intense. So, are you willing to let your breath take you to a place of orgasm? Because breath can. So, that kind of level of presence where you're just noticing, and so you're breathing with your partner, but you're noticing and you're holding and you're breathing together and you're just taking your time to be together. Like there's no rush, there's nothing going on in the world, the house isn't on fire. You just get to be together. You might be talking, you might not be, you just might be silently being with each other and just noticing each other's breath. It can be so calming. And in that calmness, your body can become more relaxed. So it becomes more open. And then you start to feel deeper levels of trust. Your body starts to feel more like letting go. And so it'll let go of things like tension and stress, but it'll also let go and allow for all of these things like erotic feelings to come up and the turn on of your body to start to come up for me. And I know this may sound like counterintuitive, but for me and for a lot of people, the calmer you are, the more turned on your body is. So there is physiological responses, reasons for that. So if your body is in fight or flight, some people think they're turned on then, but they're in fight or flight. Their sympathetic nervous system is in survival mode. It's not in erotic pleasure mode. It's in survival mode, and all it needs to do is survive. But you'll feel your blood pressure going up. You'll feel certain things happening where you might even feel like anxiety attacks at that stage where your sympathetic nervous system is kicking in for fight or flight. You could have that sustained for so long where you feel frozen um, as well. And so you might not even be responding. But the ultimate is to get your body connected and calm and breathing. Breath is just so simple, but so sexy. When you actually see somebody breathe deeply and you see like their chest like open up and then let go, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I find it very sexy when people can breathe deeply and then let go. It's like the whole body expands and contracts. It's very throbbing. It's very sexual. I don't know. That's me. What do you guys think? Like, do you find deep breathing, not like to the point where it's obnoxious and somebody's got like tons of snot in their nose and you're like snorking it up. I mean, like just breathing in and watching how everything opens and then breathing out. So just super be in that space of like seriously noticing expansion and contraction of breath and how the body is responding and how your body interacts with another body too. These can be solo practices too, but this is erotic presence with you first, then bringing it in with a partner is the way to go. All right, we're going to head to our first commercial break. You're listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show, with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet pleasure seekers. We're talking about the art of erotic presence today. For those of you who are kind of like intrigued and wondering, like, how do I get to know more about this stuff? There are several books out there on Tantra, but if you just want to have a one-on-one conversation to learn some specific tools for you, you can head over to my website, milicajelenic.com. That's my first and last name.com. And you can book a call with me. I'm always happy to speak with the listeners as well as give any kind of tips and tools that I have available for you. So feel free to book a time. But also, I do have workshops. So many great things coming up. So I would love for you to check in regularly on my website because you're going to find a lot of changes coming up in the next few months, few weeks even. And you're going to probably find that there's new things on a regular basis to be able to just like things you can access for free, but also things that if you wanted to come and participate in different stuff, whether it's half day, full day, weekend, several day workshops, that's all going to be happening, opening up soon to the public on that front on a more regular basis starting in about a month. So yeah, that's exciting. Okay. So for those of you who are like, okay, presence, but what's the point? Like, isn't it boring just sitting, staring at somebody? Like, isn't it boring to just like breathe with somebody? Oh my God, it's so boring. It's really not. It's really not. You know what's actually more boring is when you feel like you're having sex that is what's the word for like more by rote. It's like the same thing over and over and over again. That is boring. Presence will change all the time. You being present with your partner will help you feel nuances of what's going on with yourself, with them. Um, and, the more you start to feel and notice your own being present with your own body, you'll notice certain things as well. You'll probably start to notice even a little places where of discomfort, certain feelings. You become so self-aware that you can start to have a more mature relationship rather than maybe when you're disconnected. There tends to be a lot of things like blaming others for what's going on, or when you're very disconnected, you can also often feel like it's everybody's fault that you're not happy. The more connected you are, though, the more you start to feel satisfied in your own life and your own self and your own body. And as a result, the more present you are and more connected you are, as a result, you'll start to translate that off into your relationships in general, like friendships and with your kids, all of it. It translates out. So getting present with yourself even through all the yucky, painful things, like even if you're sitting and you're like, you know what, I'm having a really crappy week. Last week I had quite a week where doesn't happen very often, but I was like wondering what am I even bothering with all this stuff that I'm doing in the world. And luckily for me, I have really good friends who I can call and be like, you know what, I want to walk away from everything. They'll like put me in check. So if you can get really present even with your crappy moments where you're like, you know what, I'm sensing crap right now. Because there's a reality where when you are super present, you're going to notice things that you maybe don't like. And the thing is like, if you're avoiding that presence, then what will happen is that you'll ignore these things for forever. And then eventually it'll affect so many other areas of your life. So say you're avoiding frustration or something with your work, and then you say nothing about it and you sit with that and you stew with it for like 10 or 15 years. And now you've got like burnout and you've got like 17 heart attacks, you've got cancer of the bowel, you've got all these things that you just haven't dealt with because you're denial, and you don't want to look at it and you don't want to deal with it because you're in the I don't want to look at it, I don't want to deal with it mode. Everything gets repressed. And generally, like, there's a lack of presence when everything gets repressed. And when everything gets repressed, there's a lack of presence, vice versa. So if you'd like to get things out of repression and into consciousness, then starting to become present with yourself is really key. So, what does that even mean? So, you can feel your body and you can feel like that you're here, but then sometimes you might go looping off into things. So, there's some key things like to notice when somebody is not being present. And one of the things I can notice when people talk, I notice it a lot when they're streaming off. So one of the things they'll do is they'll do circular talking. And by that, I mean like they'll talk the same story in a circle repeatedly because they haven't figured out a solution for it. So they're kind of like a hamster on a wheel. And so they're running on that circle for a really long time until they get really present. They can jump off that wheel when they get really present. And then they can observe the wheel and go, oh, wow, I was running on a wheel for a really long time. And then other ways I've seen where people are not super present is that their breathing will kind of stop almost in their face, like their breath won't even come down to their belly. So when they're breathing, you won't even notice their belly moving. Like, so when people lie on my table, I look for certain things. And one of the things is, how are they breathing? Are they breathing right into their belly? Does their body undulate when they breathe? Does it have like a wave to it? Or is it stuck somewhere? And so there are times where I will just have somebody breathe for like 5 or 10 minutes to get actually breath going into their body, so they have circulation going, so they have, they're out of the frozen mode, they're out of that fear mode, and they're back in. So people will go flighty out too, and you can see it too, because it's like when somebody gets into space cadet mode, and you're like, hello, hello, are you there? And they've just checked out. They're like, I'm not here, I'm out of here. Sometimes stressful situations, awkward situations for them, they'll just tap out. So getting present in all situations, even when they feel awkward, will help you feel more in charge, I think is a good word, where you know that you have choice. Where when you're checked out, you're going to feel less and less like you have choice and that you have any kind of say in whatever you're in. This applies in relationship, and it also applies in a sexual context. So if you are in a space where you're checking out and somebody goes to touch you, but you don't even like notice it or even know what they're doing because you're just like not there, um, that, can often be a sign that there's been sexual abuse, harassment, sexual trauma of some sort, where, if your body's been touched and somebody touches you again in that same spot or area, and you know that that touch is a reminder of the trauma, and it sends you into like PTSD, uh, an attack of sorts. So you you will likely you will likely not be able to navigate having somebody touch you, not know what to do. So the first thing to do is check out. That's part of fight or flight. Flight. You will like not necessarily flight run away, but you will energetically flight out of your space. So it's like you choose to shut off and not become aware. And for some people, it'll feel like you literally leave your body and then you get to kind of snap back in, like, come back, hello. Yeah, it can feel like you're transcending your body. I know, because I've done it. So this is not theoretical. I've done the transcending the body and been like floating off in a corner. I was like, hey, what's happening over there? Somebody's doing something to me. I don't even know what's happening. So that happens. And the more, if you've ever talked to anybody who's gone through any kind of sexual trauma or abuse, or multiple sexual traumas and abuses, 'cause sometimes you don't realize how many you've had until you really sit down and go, oh, wow, these actually all qualify. So you could be just to deal with it. You're like, whatever, I can survive this if I'm not here. And so there's a part of you that will just shut off and go into flight, um, energetic flightiness, and you leave. And then, um, yeah, sometimes then when you come back in and come back to being present in your body, it's incredibly scary and painful in so many different ways. So presence can also help you realize where there is that pain and where you've been avoiding that pain, so that you can start to heal all of those traumas and pains. And how does that become sexy is because you can then enjoy the touch that maybe before you were just trying to run from. And you can also enjoy and ask for what you would like rather than just having it done to you. So there is, there's I realize the more I talk about presence, the more that that I'm reminded how little presence there is when somebody's experienced an awful lot of trauma. And I do know, though, that the more present you become through breath work and body work and somatic work of all kinds, the more your body will have reduction of anxiety And the less anxiety you have, the more intimate you can be. You'll have more trust. You'll be able to ask for what you desire. And in essentially, what you're going to start to do is you're going to stop just letting things happen. You'll stop being in the doing mode. Oh, they're doing such and such to me. Instead, you'll be being able to receive and notice things and be able to ask for what you like. You'll also go from out of this whole need to try and perform to a desire to just be and notice your feeling. So you get out of, am I doing this right? And into, what do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? And then asking your partner, what do you feel right now? How do you feel right now? So, yeah, there's a few different things that can affect your body and whether you are capable of having erotic presence. Trauma will be one of the things that would most likely stop that. Trauma from both physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, sexual, you name it. Any of those traumas would get you out of presence and into turmoil. So we're going to switch that around today. Going to head to our next commercial break. You're listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show, with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet pleasure seekers. Just before break, I was mentioning like some of the things that might create having yourself be out of presence. And trauma is definitely one of them. And I kind of mentioned a couple things of how you can notice when somebody is not being present. And whether it's that they kind of look like dazed and glazed and confused, or there's so many. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of in a few ideas just so you can be aware. You can check yourself on this. So some of them might be that your brain is going on overdrive and like a million thoughts going on, right? So when I do this show and I usually have like all this information coming at me, like I'll have one thought which triggers another thought, very like ADHD brain. And for me, I literally, I don't know if you guys even see it, but I'm taking deep breaths. I got my feet on the floor. I've got to get myself to where I can actually deliver the information without getting overly sidetracked. Because guys, I know that I sound like I get sidetracked here, but compared to where I could be getting sidetracked to, whoo, I'm way more grounded than you can imagine where my brain is at. So, um, all those racing thoughts, and then all the self-criticism too that can come through. So all that chatter is a really big sign that you're not present. And also, when you're focusing on things like your performance or you're focusing on the outcome, especially when it comes to sex, it's going to actually get you to be not present. Years ago, my mom and I, we had this friend, and he was a drummer, and we would always have spiritual talk, and we would like drum drums together. He was a musician. He actually was an award-winning Juno award-winning musician who he was an award winner for a band he was in like the 80s, but he would just come and play drums with us. So and he was very like cool about us not being good musicians. And one of the things we would do was drum to be present. And we would do that listening to the heartbeat. And he would just be like, so like at the time my kid was like maybe 2, and he loved drumming with Ziva. Ziva was super present, like full body expression through drums, and the drums were like as big as Ziva was at the time. So we would just get into that and just notice heartbeat and notice how the drum would affect our heartbeat. And as much as it wasn't sexual, it would get your body so present that you would be turned on. So when you watch musicians who are like in the zone and they're really there, and they're just like, whether they're playing the bass guitar or whatever they happen to be playing, when they're in that zone, they're so incredibly present. They're probably not even thinking about the outcome. They're probably not even thinking about their performance. They're just in the zone. And so when you get in the zone like that, like when you see anybody who's really good at what they do, whether it's a really great musician or like a fantastic sportsman, like any of that, you'll see people in the zone and you can see that they are solid. They're present, they're there, and they almost are so there. It's like they're not there. It's like they've transcended being there. So we used to joke with this friend of my mom's that we were so in the now that we weren't even there. So I'd made these t-shirts for us that were like, I'm so in the now, I'm not even here. I don't know if you got that joke or not. And maybe it's a little over people's head, but if you're really here in the now, oh, the now's already gone. So you're not even there. Anyway, that was kind of like my own personal joke. Mm, esoteric jokes. Ha ha, they're so funny. Anyway, when you stop thinking about like where are things going to go, what's going to happen, especially when it comes to sex, if you're like, oh, is it going to lead to an orgasm or not lead to an orgasm? Am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? Getting out of that doing, getting out of that performance stuff and into being and asking and questioning and just being willing to even say, what would you enjoy? Or as somebody asking for something, you can just say, I would really like it if you did this, this, and this, and then just asking for what you would like. And if you would like to do something to somebody, may I touch your whatever, shoulder, hand, genitals, breasts, may I? May I is such a fun way to open a conversation on touch. I love using may I as an invitation. So you can also notice when people are, I mentioned earlier, like breathing really shallow, then you can also notice that they're probably not present. So they might be holding their breath back. They might be breathing where when they are, say, for example, lying down, you don't even see their chest rise or their belly rise. It's just like all maybe in the throat or to the nose. So I encourage you to just, even while you're listening, put your hand on your belly and just take like a breath in. Just a breath in for 5 and a breath out for 5. Just notice the rise of your belly like the inflation and deflation of your belly. It's just about noticing. It's not like you can do much more complicated breath work, but just getting used to noticing breathing and noticing where your breath is landing in your body is going to be so key to help calm down your nervous system, get your blood pressure going better, um, all the other digestion going better, right? Reset and digest is part of what, like, when your body is calm. So, you know, when you're on high alert and you start checking out, your breath is going to be held back. You're going to even probably look like you're holding your breath the whole time. And you might not even necessarily feel things. Like somebody could touch you and you don't notice, or somebody could touch you and you just depends on if you're in frozen, you might not even notice. But if you're in fight or flight, somebody could touch you even with the slightest touch and you want to punch them in the face. Either way, you're not present. So the other things to note for if you've like left the building and you're not present, if you're not present, you're probably also going to feel super detached and not care. You might be like numb to everything, not even notice when somebody's asking you, "Hey, would you like to have your like favorite flavor of ice cream?" And they're like, "What? I don't even know what you said. I don't even know what that is anymore." That is like numbness. And they could also be super irritated, like everything gets on their nerves, noises, smells, everything could just irritate the crap out of them. So, although you can still have those irritations, like there are certain smells that just make me go, bleh. Um, that doesn't mean that I'm not present. It means I don't like the smell. But if things get irritating to the point where you are willing to harm somebody or harm yourself, whether it's, harming yourself, sometimes people will do things like hair pulling, or they'll do things to their own selves, like scratching their hands, or I'm just giving examples like on video. Some people will like scratch their arms. There's other things. People sometimes will hit themselves uh, from the irritation is so much that they can't be present. They don't know how to be present. So how do you come back to that? Is to start asking some simple things like, what am I noticing right now? What am I experiencing in my body right now? Is there something going on externally or internally? What am I noticing? So your proprioception and your interoception are probably giving you a lot of information, and you're not really sure how to translate that. Your body doesn't know how to translate it, so it comes out as irritation and numbness and detachment. So you can reset your body different ways. You can do 3 really slow exhales. So first you got to inhale, but you can go inhale as much as you want. And then a slow exhale is like as if you're just dripping like one drop at a time of breath. So, and I could keep going, like I could make that breath go for 30 seconds, but I don't want a lot of dead air time. So you could breathe in for 8 and breathe out really slow and low for like 30, and just notice where the breath starts to leave your throat, and it's like goes down your vertebrae, like one vertebrae at a time, all the way down. And it goes all the way to the base of your spine, and you're still breathing out, and it still goes all the way out your feet. And if you do that like 3 times, you can start to reset your nervous system and it'll bring you back. So deep inhale, and then slow, slow, slow exhale to the point where it's like that one drop, as if it was water, as if your breath was water. It's like one drop goes out at a time, and just let it slowly seep out. You can also just take a minute to switch things up and find something funny or playful to do, right? Like the whole last episode was all about play. And play can switch things up, get you present, get the trauma shifted. And you can laugh, you can, ask each other about touch as well. Touch can be really helpful to bring each other back. Um, I like having the base of my spine held to bring me back. So it's kind of like having a hand on your butt, but it's not really your butt cheeks. It's just like hand on the base of the spine. I can come back to my body within a second when somebody does that for me. So, well, particularly not just to somebody, like has to be somebody I trust. When my husband does that for me, I can be back in a heartbeat. Like here, I'm good. I'm safe. And sometimes it's just a reminder to look around too that you're safe so you can get present. And the more you can get present, the more you can play with your partner in playful ways that you can have all that erotic expression and have it all be consensual, right? So it's not like something that just somebody decided they're going to do to you. It's something that you're having the may I's and the would you be willing to do this for me? Or, may I touch your whatever? Fill in the blank. So one of the references that I like to go back to so many times is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And it is an amazing book with so many references to do with how do you get yourself out of trauma, and back to being present, not just present, but just having your body, uh, something like having more body awareness. So when you have more body awareness, you can have more erotic pleasure. Do you see how they connect? I know that this sounds more like a healing episode, but erotic presence is actually incredibly healing. It'll help you realize that there is such simplicity in pleasure, and it doesn't have to be performative. There doesn't have to be a certain amount of time. It doesn't have to be like 30 minutes of this and half an hour of that. It can be your presence can be incredibly valuable. I think we notice people's value in their presence when they're gone. And usually that's either when they've left your life and you no longer see them, or they're dead. And that's when we start to really value people's presence. So if you can value their presence before that, you'll start to realize how incredibly beautiful somebody's presence is and how gifted we are to have them in our lives, how gifted they are to have you in their life as well. It's mutual, right? You're both a gift to each other. So we want to start with, actually, I'm going to head to the next commercial break. Holy smokes. Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about some simple erotic, mindful things that we can do. So we're going to head to our last commercial break here on the Pleasure Zone. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show, with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Pleasure Zone with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet pleasure seekers. For those of you who have been getting present during the show, and maybe you've been doing some of the breath work, maybe you've been breathing in for 5, out for 5 as a simple breath, or maybe you've been doing that deep breath in and that really slow exhale where your breath is just seeping out. One of the things I hope that you start to notice is that you start to feel more settled in your body. Maybe some of those running thoughts start to dissipate. Maybe you start to feel more connected to you. And in feeling more connected to you, you have a desire to feel connected to your partner as well. Maybe it's increased your sex drive. maybe it's helped you feel a little bit more intrigued or curious about all the different things that you could be doing with your partner for fun. One of the things that you can do too, in terms of like being use erotically, that's not a word, guys. Erotic mindfulness, erotically mindful, mindfully erotic. There we go. How's that? Mindfully erotic. Yes, figure out some words here. How to be mindfully erotic. One of the things is you could do a really just super simple method of touch. And one of those methods could be pick a part of the body. And you can make this playful too. So you and your partner can put down different body parts that you like to have touched. And you can have like your little bucket of places you like to be touched. Say maybe you're like, I really like my bum being touched in my back, in my belly, and my breasts and my neck and you write them all down, put them in a jar. And then your partner does the same, but you can each take turns. I've really like jar methods and things where you can pick things out of a jar. Anyway, I bring them up a lot. So um like you can pick one out of your partner's jar, and then it's like maybe your partner's is like, I really like when my testicles are stroked. So like you pick it up and there's like, oh, testicles, cool, let's play with that. And then you can ask like, what kind of touch would you like on there? Would you like soft, or would you like being held? Would you like scratching? Like, what would you like? And then you can offer that up and do it slow. Become aware of your partner's breathing, become aware of their reaction, and enjoy it. Enjoy gifting. So while you're doing it, as much as you're being aware, you can also be thoroughly enjoying the fact that you're gifting pleasure. Because one of the greatest gifts is that you can enjoy that with your partner. So you're enjoying it, but they're enjoying it too. That's a great thing. And you can also just be gifting pleasure for their sake alone, which is also what a lovely thing to do. You can also just start to touch your own body too in the same way, just to start to do self-discovery. And you can do body, you know how you can like scan your body and your thoughts and through breath, and then, but you can also do it with touch, just like touch your head and see how that feels. Touch your face and like go down your whole body and do it slow. You could probably take a good half an hour to just go through your whole body and become familiar with it. And it's not about like going straight to masturbating. It's about becoming familiar with your body and touching it and noticing the parts that probably haven't been touched in ages. Maybe like behind your knee hasn't been touched in ages. Maybe small of your back, parts of your body that you can't reach very well. You can always ask somebody to do for you. Like, there are parts of my back I can't reach very well. So having somebody else touch the parts that I can't touch can really help my body feel calm and present. It's a funny thing. Like if you probably can't reach your own toes, having somebody touch your toes will help you be grounded even more so. So play with those parts that maybe don't get touched so much too. So we have, over the last little while, been talking about before play, after play, core play, during play, all these different plays. And I hope that you guys have really gotten a lot of information and different tools and playful things to be doing with your partner. And I'm just curious, if I were to create like a compendium with all these ideas in it, would that be something that you guys would like? Because I am about to embark on something big for me, and I'm just curious, what are you guys interested in? Would you like to be able to read about all these things that I talk about? And if you would, comment in any of the places where you can comment, like YouTube, and I'd love to know more about what you're interested in, what you've gained and gleaned from these episodes. And practice one of these this week. Just do some breaths.
Thank you for choosing to listen to The Pleasure Zone with sex, relationship, and intimacy coach, Milica Jelenic. We'll return next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.